I'm Mike Costello, and I'm here with Dr. Iris Freelander, and today we'd like to talk to you about putting the pieces together. Our lives so often do seem to be in pieces, and so in the next few minutes we'd like to talk about ways in which we can put all of the pieces together. And that's a pretty big task in 30 minutes, but let's put it all together, Iris.
Yes, it is. And I remember reading something that we should not live in day-tight compartments. And I thought, what a weird thing to say. We should not live in day-tight compartments. But that's true. We need to just flow through our days and flow through our lives, as opposed to having one thing and another, because I think it makes us rigid when we do that. So if we're the more flexible we are in our being able to go through the days, then the less rigid we become.
Mm-hmm. So often, I actually have a topic I've got a couple of books that I'm working on right now that I hope to get out in the next couple of years, and one of them is unity consciousness, and having the consciousness of unity in all of life and bringing the pieces together. And I think we do need to think of our lives as a whole, as opposed to compartments or segments. And over the last few years, there's been a lot said about the mind-body-spirit connection. And of course, we know that when we take those three pieces and put them together, we have a whole person. And that's unity, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And when we're connected in mind, body, and spirit, then there's unity. Mm-hmm. And some of us might spend too much time in spiritual endeavors. Some might spend too much time in just thinking about things and not using mind, body, and spirit in a coordinated way. Mm-hmm. But if we can remember to do that, then we would be happier, healthier, and stronger, and therefore, I think, have a much more fulfilling life.
Mm-hmm. And if we take that the next step, if we put the pieces of mind, body, spirit together and make the whole person, then all people are connected. And I think in a wonderful way, we're finding that on this planet, we're getting closer together. And this consciousness of we've talked a few weeks ago on the program, or we've talked in the past on programs, about the global brain or universal consciousness, and that's a high-minded term that a lot of people might find difficult to grasp. But what we're talking about there is simply the unity of all of the vibratory processes of mind. And I think that as we understand that we, as individuals, can fragment ourselves, mm-hmm. and we can fragment ourselves then as people into nationalities and ethnic groups and into races and into all kinds of divisions. But in fact, if we put all of those pieces together, we are one wonderful body of humanity. And the time is right for that, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And more people are coming into thinking about that and putting that together. At church last Sunday, at the spiritual development meeting last evening, people were asking questions, and the conversation was going along the lines of the fact that we're all one. Humanity is all of humanity is interconnected, and we're all a part of Creator God. We're all a part of God. So if we're all a part of God, then certainly mm-hmm. we are all connected. And I think most religions teach that we are a part of God, but they don't teach it, most don't go into that in depth as much as people are thinking today, people of all walks of life and in all types of different religious beliefs, because there seems to be broadcast from the inner planes of being thoughts that humanity needs to take and run with, mm-hmm. as it were. And so this seems to be something that's sifting through now in great measure all over the world. And you can see it if we read broadly. We can see that this is happening, and we are indeed all one, and we're all at one with God. So that gives greater dignity and greater strength to humankind, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And then I think it's important for us to understand, too, that as we do that, we can still respect differences. And so the integrity of our different faith traditions, or the integrity of our different nationalities, or the integrity of our racial heritages are all important and valuable. And I think that so often people who are opposed to this unity consciousness, or the philosophy that we're talking about, are most concerned about the fact that they are not going to be able to preserve the diversity that exists. And we're not talking about eliminating the diversity. We're talking about the coexistence of a diverse society and diverse faith traditions and diverse races and diverse nationalities coming together in mutual respect and unity of thought under the banner of universal principles that don't infringe upon the rights or the integrity of those particular historical and diverse groups that we have within our society. And I think that's important for people to understand, that we're not talking, when we talk about in these terms, about eliminating our differences. We're talking about celebrating our differences.
Exactly.
And becoming richer because of our differences, and respecting the differences. And I think one of the marvelous things is we used to talk about being tolerant. I think we need to get beyond tolerance. And then we need to, instead of being tolerant, we need to understand that we need to embrace one another. And with the embracing of one another, we still don't take away from the integrity of the diversity that makes us the rich culture, or the rich faith, or the rich nationalities, or any of the other magnificent heritages that we all celebrate, because there is a beautiful tapestry that can be woven from it. And the tapestry isn't woven in making us all one pattern, but to make it a very diverse pattern that comes together, celebrating the beauty in all.
By all means, we must do that. And if we don't, we face a heavy penalty within ourselves, with doubt and uncertainty. We must accept all others at their face value. And of course, we believe in reincarnation. And so if you think of life in terms of reincarnation, that we've all been every religion, every race, and we come in each specific lifetime to do specific things to grow in character and depth. And so as we choose our parents, so as we choose our parents, we choose the religion usually to which we're going to adhere as we go through that life. If not throughout the life, then our roots at least. And so as we do that, we can know that because we've been every other religion, well, if we just try to remember, we can remember what it feels like. Because I think that we've come to the time, and we talk often here of the mass consciousness, the global brain. I think that there's been great shifts more recently, that we're all more open, aware, and alert, and knowing of others and others' habits, and more accepting. Mm. And what you said earlier just now is so true, that we need to do that fully, accept others fully. But more than that, we need to applaud the difference, and applaud the difference, because those of other faiths and other nationalities and other different in any way, are fulfilling their destiny on the planet the way they planned before they came in. And it's a wonderful thing that they are. So it's a wonderful thing then that we're able to do as we choose. And of course, in New Thought, we go a step beyond sometimes the traditional, and it's good to do that. And even in the traditional religions, they're changing a great deal too, aren't they?
I think they are, and even what people believe and what they hold dear in their belief systems, really, again, it adds to the richness of all life, and I think at the core of what we're talking about is mutual respect, and that reality of putting the diverse people, the diverse life, the diverse philosophies, the diverse faith traditions on the table, if you will, or around the table to make it one big happy family. And we are a family of humanity.
Yes, and there's a group of ministers here in Long Beach who've been meeting for about 15 years or so, and they meet regularly. And they're of all diverse faiths, and I think that's such a lovely habit that they have of meeting together for lunch and talking. They'll bring up one subject, and then each will say their opinion on that subject. And that's very broadening, isn't it?
For us to come to understand each other.
Yes.
And the key, I think, is understanding. And I think that in today's environment, in the world as we know it today, we have to understand each other better. You and I grew up in a generation that knew so little about diversity, and if we can learn, anyone can learn. And so I think as we look at young people and we look at what's happening on the planet and what's happening in a wonderful and magnificent way in organizations and churches and groups all around this city and around the country and the world, magnificent things are happening so that we can celebrate the different pieces coming together. And that's what this program today is about, just celebrating the fact that as we put the pieces together, then we all become richer for it.
And of course, the key would be acceptance, wouldn't it? That we need to accept others and accept whatever is different and celebrate the difference, value the difference, and study the difference. And I think that's happening a great deal. It's not just a dream, it's happening. And we can see it happening in our own city, and we can see it happening throughout the world, where groups are learning more about each other. And there's been a lot of past life therapy work going on in the past several years. And I think that helps people understand more fully, because when they go into another lifetime, when one goes into another lifetime that's totally foreign and different from what they are today, then I think it adds greater tolerance to the soup. And so as we are more tolerant of others, then we're totally accepting.
And that acceptance becomes a respect, and then that next step to that is embracing them and loving them in who and what they are and what they represent. We'd like to pause at this point in the program so that you can receive some literature.
We would like to offer you the opportunity to receive one of these free booklets to further your understanding of the New Thought message of confident living. Each month we will feature a different booklet, which will be mailed to you free and postage paid. Simply address your request to Confident Living at P.O. Box 7726, Long Beach, California, 90807.
In the last half of the program, we kind of got started in the first half of the program talking about the universal consciousness and the big picture, but on a smaller scale, in our individual lives, we need to put the pieces together too, don't we? And in our families and among our circle of friends, and even within our own consciousness. So often, I think, as people come to us and seek counseling or come to the church or the center, they're looking to put the pieces together to have meaning.
Yes, greater meaning to their lives, and also greater tolerance and acceptance of the difference in others. I've had 2 women come to me for counseling this week who are having problems in their workplace, and they have totally different types of work that they do, and they are having problems with one other specific person. One is the man who's a supervisor, and the other is a woman who is a co-worker. But it seems that this is happening so much. And I think it's because we're all so super sensitive that we just need to accept that people are different and they think differently. And instead of resisting, then to just give them love and light and bless them in our own way, in our own minds, silently, so that we accept that, yes, they're different and they're thinking differently, but what can they do? But it's probably because of the tense times in which we're living, but it just seems to be happening a great deal. Have you seen that happening in other people's lives a great deal recently?
I think people are highly stressed because of the demands that are placed on our time, and as we're stressed, as our stress levels rise, our tolerance decreases of others. And I think that you touched on something that's really very important, and that is to understand that all people are different, and the issue of giving up the judgment of others. And so often in the workplace or in relationship counseling, as we talk to people, you and I both use some real simple techniques, and really some of those techniques have to do with the way that we see other people. And it's amazing if, as we work through the process of helping individuals see someone else in a non-judgmental way, and giving up the negatives that they have come to expect in others' behavior. The behavior may not change, but the reaction to it changes.
Indeed. And if we're resisting, then they're going to resist right back. But if we just relax and accept, well, they're challenging or whatever it is they're doing, that looks as if they're opposing what the person is trying to accomplish, then they don't. If you don't give them anything to push against, then they won't be able. What can they do? So it's that we're trying too hard to force our own ideas, perhaps. Do you think that's it? That we're trying too hard to force our own ideas on others, or to force all the way through instead of just putting pieces together as we go along?
I think we do force. We impose our values on others and our expectations, and then we underestimate the creative power that exists within our own minds, because as we create expectations in our minds, those expectations are met. So often in the workplace, when we talk to people and they say, well, my boss or my supervisor or the person to whom I report is just terrible, then as we talk to those people, we'll find that this is a pattern that's been repeated in their life. And so their view sometimes of the supervisor it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way, and that creative negativity and negativity, there is such a thing as creative negativity, and so that creation of the negative thought, I'm thinking of in a social environment. I can think of people who have told me, well, I'm looking for a relationship, or I'm looking for friends, but every time I go, all I find is this or that. And of course, they find this or that because they attract that to themselves. And it is important for us to understand that we do attract to ourselves based upon our thinking or our vibration, because thoughts and ideas are alive, they are creative. And I think often we underestimate that reality. And so sometimes we're causing our own problem. Now, I'm not at all saying that we're always doing that. And I think that that's important for our viewers to understand. I'm not painting any of this with a broad brush, but I'm simply saying that sometimes the repetitive experience over and over again, the pattern of behavior needs to be broken in our expectation, and then the behavior of the external will follow.
Yes, and we go through life on a perspective. It's our own perspective that changes things for us, as opposed to truth being manifest. And I can remember years ago when I was in my mid-teens riding a bus, and we had to stand because the bus was crowded. And there was an older lady staring at me, and it made me uncomfortable. And she kept staring at me, and I said to her, "Pardon me, but is something wrong?" And she says, "Oh, no, my dear. If I live to be 100, I'll never forget your eyes." And she saw something in my eyes that, which I subsequently I've looked in people's eyes, and I see uh, a great deal in their eyes, and you especially see this in babies and children who are unaffected. And so whatever she was seeing from her perspective. It didn't have as much to do with my eyes as it had to do with her perspective. And I learned that at a very, therefore at a young age, that it's the perspective of the person. It's not what's there. We each put our own perspective on everything. And so as we do that, we create, as we were saying earlier, we create our own reality. We create the reality with which then we have to live. And so we can create a reality of happiness and joy and putting the pieces together in a very positive way, or letting the pieces stay scattered. And when we look at our lives from day to day, we see the pieces as being just getting out of bed. One of my sons said to me, "Have you thought of selling your house?" I said, "Good heavens, no. I can't even decide to get out of bed mornings." That would be too formidable. And so, but just, we have to start with getting out of bed in the morning and doing our routine that we need to do to get ourselves presentable and feeling well. And then throughout the day, we can put the pieces together in our own lives and change them around. And if they don't fit for us, then change those pieces, because it's our life and we have the privilege of changing it. And again, it's our perspective, it's how we look at those things that make the difference, isn't it?
Absolutely, and we can change where we put the pieces.
Yeah.
And if they don't fit exactly right, then get a pair of scissors and cut them, make them fit. But before time gets away from us, we talk a lot in this program about centering techniques and meditation. And I think as you were speaking about people having a scattered feeling about their lives, so often in counseling, people will tell me, "My life is a mess," and I can see it in their demeanor and in their expressions. And because of the demands, because of the burdens, because of any number of things, they're unable to put the pieces together. And a time of quiet centering and meditation is a wonderful way to put the pieces together of our personal lives, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I look at it as some people have a shaky orbit. So if we have a shaky orbit, then put the pieces together in a way that gives us stability, gives stability to our lives. And that means we leave enough time just to breathe, just to be, because if we rush throughout the day, from the things we have to do to the things we think we have to do to the things that seem to need to be done, then we're going to be pretty shaky throughout the day. But if we put the pieces together in a sensible, thoughtful way by allowing time for the things we need to do, plus a little more time. And everyone, when you say those things to people, they will say, "Yes, but I have to rush so hard. I have to do this." And I've done it myself. I know that that's what we do, but we can't do that. We have to just thoughtfully figure it out and see how we can put those pieces together in our lives so that we have time for lunch to eat comfortably. And it's better to eat a small amount slowly than it is to gulp down a lot of food. So we can change our perspective of what we think we need so that we have the time to do what we need, what needs to be done, and then the things that we really just want to do, and then some things just for the joy of being.
It comes down to personal responsibility, doesn't it?
Indeed.
We do have to take personal responsibility. And of course, that's a big part of what our ministry and our counseling work and our life is about. And that's a big part of what New Thought is about, being practical in the applications of spiritual principles and mental principles so that we take personal responsibility. And sometimes we need help to do that. We may need a counselor, we may need a friend, we may need a good ear to someone to just listen, or we may need some more professional help. But we do all have to make choices in our lives, and we choose the life that we have, whether we admit it or not, and we choose to put the pieces together, or we choose to be scattered. And if we choose to be scattered, then our lives and our emotions and our feelings and all of the aspects of our being are going to be scattered.
And we're going to end up each day being frantic, or we can end up each day being calm, serene, and have self-respect, because we really don't respect ourselves when we're doing all that rushing about and being so frantic. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. It has to do with how much time we're willing to invest in ourselves and how much work we're willing to do. And it is work, but then it's not drudgery, it's joyful work, and it's happy work, and it's positive work as we improve the quality of our life. And if we improve the quality of our lives, then we can improve the quality of life for all of those around us. We can share what we have with others.
Indeed. And oh, by the way, unless it's our responsibility, we don't need put other people's pieces together for them. Even our children, even the people for whom we are responsible, we need to give everyone else the freedom to put their own pieces in the places where they want to, again, unless it's our responsibility.
Absolutely, and give them the absolute freedom, the support, and the love, and take responsibility for ourselves and ourselves first, and let others live their lives. Give up judgment, give up the negative aspects of life, give up the stress and the strain, and embrace and welcome the circumstances and situations of life. And so we hope that the information that we've been sharing with you has been useful, and we look forward to seeing you next time.